The story begins by showing a mortuary guard stationed at a hospital. It was his duty to keep watch over the somber halls. One fateful night, as he made his rounds, a chilling sight awaited him in the mortuary. The door to the body storage swung open, revealing an empty space where a lifeless body should have rested. It was the body of Yoon Seol-hee, a woman believed to have met her end. But now, an eerie question hung in the air that she could be alive again. Before her untimely demise, Seol-hee had lived a life of opulence, born into a wealthy family. Her marriage to Park Jin-han, a university lecturer, was devoid of love. In fact, Jin-han harbored a deep disdain for his wife, despite her claims of adoration. Seol-hee treated Jin-han like a plaything, leaving him feeling trapped and unable to find the happiness he had always dreamt of in married life. On the day of Seol-hee's funeral, Jin-han put on a show of grief, feigning tears by using eye drops. When the mourners departed and the house fell silent, he was left alone with his thoughts. Suddenly, the haunting melody of a piano pierced the stillness, its notes dancing through the air as if played by an unseen hand. It was as if Seol-hee's spirit lingered, tormenting him from beyond the grave. Overwhelmed by the apparitions and desperate to escape his haunted existence, Jin-han resolved to visit his mistress, Kim Ye-jin, a college student at the same institution where he taught. In Ye-jin's arms, he found solace and the fleeting happiness he craved. To rid himself of Seol-hee's presence, Jin-han resorted to a sinister plan. He schemed to end his wife's life, using poison as his weapon of choice. In his devious plot, he meticulously prepared alibis, hoping to evade the clutches of the law and forever sever the ties that bound him to his wife. Meanwhile, the three detectives assigned to investigate Seol-hee's death gathered together to discuss the perplexing case. Led by Woo Jong-shik, the head of the investigation, they sought valuable information from the night watchman who had discovered the disappearance of Seol-hee's body from the mortuary. The guard, visibly shaken and bearing signs of injury, recounted what he had witnessed. He mentioned glimpsing a figure amidst the chilling scene. When the detectives listened to the watchman's testimony, they deduced that this mysterious individual could be the culprit behind Seol-hee's murder. Jong-shik and his team began to piece together the puzzle. One of the detectives, Dong-gu, delved into Seol-hee's background, unearthing intriguing details. Seol-hee was not just any ordinary woman. She held the prestigious position of presidential director at Pharmaceutical Baron, a renowned company in Korea. It became evident that she had been married to Jin-han for several years. The records show that Seol-hee's cause of death was officially listed as a heart attack. Armed with this information, Jong-shik made a crucial decision. He instructed his team to contact Jin-han. Recognizing that the answers to the enigma surrounding Seol-hee's demise might lie within the confines of their conversation. Frantic with worry, Jin-han hurried to the hospital to meet with the investigators. As he arrived, he spotted Jong-shik and his partner waiting anxiously. It didn't take long for the rest of Jong-shik's team, including Seok-won, to join them. Seok-won proceeded to recount the sequence of events leading up to Seol-hee's vanishing act. He informed Jin-han that the perpetrator had left behind a trail, deliberately leaving clues for the investigators to follow. Upon examining the scene, the team concluded that the thief's sole target had been Seol-hee's lifeless body, leaving the other corpses undisturbed and untouched. A doctor by the name of Cha, who had been involved in handling Seol-hee's case, approached Jin-han. She sought to gather more insight into Seol-hee's medical history. Jin-han shared all that he knew about his wife's health, recounting her ailments. In the course of their conversation, Che hinted at a possibility that sent a shiver down Jin-han's spine. She mentioned the notion of Seol-hee experiencing an apparent death, a state where one's vital signs become undetectable, creating the illusion of death. Following the interrogation of Jin-han, Jong-shik and his partner convened with Cha in a separate room. There, they discussed the doctor's findings and their growing suspicions regarding the perpetrator behind Seol-hee's murder. They couldn't help but focus their attention on Jin-han, recognizing that he stood to benefit the most from his wife's demise. Driven by their suspicions, Jong-shik decided to interrogate Jin-han once again, this time probing into the possibility of an extramarital affair. As the question hung in the air, Jin-han's face displayed a mixture of panic and attempted composure. He vehemently denied all of Jong-shik's accusations, desperately maintaining his innocence. Feeling increasingly cornered by the investigators, Jin-han made the decision to contact his lawyer, seeking guidance and support in the face of mounting pressure. When the interrogation concluded, a sudden malfunction occurred with the mortuary lamp, casting an eerie atmosphere in the room. Jin-han, who remained alone, was taken aback and instinctively reached out to inspect the light switch. To his astonishment, his late wife's coffin unexpectedly creaked open, revealing a small box hidden within. Fueled by curiosity, Jin-han approached the box, his eyes widening in disbelief as he discovered the container held the very poison he had used to end his wife's life. In a moment of shock, he accidentally dropped the incriminating evidence. Just as the hospital lights flickered back on, he swiftly seized the poison, desperate to conceal any trace of his heinous act. Unbeknownst to Jin-han, Jong-shik had witnessed the entire scene. Filled with suspicion, Jong-shik made a calculated move, discreetly reaching into Jin-han's pocket to retrieve the mysterious medicine. Unsure of its contents, he decided to consult Cha, urging her to examine the substance and shed light on its significance. In their pursuit of answers, Jong-shik and his team embarked on a thorough exploration of the hospital's basement, meticulously searching for clues that could lead them to the thief who had absconded with Seol-hee's body. As they combed through the dimly lit passages, Jong-shik's instructions resonated, guiding his men through the labyrinthine depths. Simultaneously, he reached out to Seol-hee's lawyer, seeking legal counsel and insights into the case. During their search, the detectives stumbled upon a concealed pathway within the basement, a clandestine route that connected directly to the hospital's electrical panels and security systems. It became evident that someone had intentionally tampered with the electrical switch, causing a disruptive short circuit throughout the entire hospital. The discovery shed light on a deliberate act to create chaos and possibly cover up the tracks of the culprit. On the other hand, Jin-han desperately sought to contact Jin, longing to discuss the presence of the poison they had used to end Seol-hee's life. Confusion gnawed at him as he questioned why the drug had ended up inside the small box nestled within Seol-hee's coffin. After all, he and Jin had meticulously disposed of all the incriminating substances they had used before. Anxiety gripped him, fearing that their illicit relationship would be exposed to the world. When the investigation unfolded, Seok-won sought out Suk-kyung, Seol-hee's lawyer, in hopes of uncovering additional information about Seol-hee's life. To his surprise, Suk-kyung handed him Seol-hee and Jin-han's prenuptial agreement, providing a glimpse into their marital dynamics. However, their conversation was abruptly interrupted when Suk-kyung received a message from none other than Seol-hee herself, claiming to be waiting for her at the office. In the meantime, Dong-gu tirelessly scored the crime scene for any potential clues related to Seol-hee's untimely demise. His relentless efforts bore fruit as he stumbled upon a distinct footprint, which upon further investigation revealed itself to belong to a woman. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the investigation. Simultaneously, within the hospital, the piercing sound of a fire alarm blared, jolting both Jong-shik and Jin-han, who happened to be in the elevator at the time. Urgency engulfed them as they swiftly made their escape to safety. Alone in the midst of chaos, Jin-han seized the opportunity to contact Jin, seeking solace and answers. The call took an unexpected turn when an unknown number appeared on Jin's phone, only to be discovered as Seol-hee's own. In the midst of their conversation, Jin-han's gaze fell upon a figure resembling Seol-hee, standing just beyond a glass door. It sent a chilling realization coursing through his veins, a realization that perhaps Seol-hee was not as lifeless as he had believed. Driven by the message from Seol-hee's number, Suk-kyung and Sip-won arrived at Seol-hee's office, only to find an empty room with a solitary letter penned by Seol-hee herself. The letter held secrets and revelations that demanded their attention. Meanwhile, Jong-shik sought out Cha, the doctor, eager to uncover the truth behind the drug he had confiscated from Jin-han. As he pressed for answers, Cha explained that the drug had the potential to inflict nerve damage, potentially leading to a fatal outcome. In the midst of their conversation, Jong-shik received an infuriated call from his superior. The superior reprimanded him for continuing the investigation into Seol-hee's death, despite the directive to halt the proceedings, as it was a day of mourning for Seol-hee's family. Unfazed by the reprimand, Jong-shik remained steadfast, ignoring his superior's orders. Memories of his own tragic loss resurfaced. His beloved fiancée, Song Ji-young, had tragically perished in a hit-and-run accident. The perpetrator had evaded capture, their identity remaining elusive to this day. In a state of agitation, Jin-han found himself alone in a room, haunted by the persistent presence of Seol-hee's figure. As he glanced towards an open window, a whisper from Seol-hee sent a shiver down his spine. However, it was all just a dream. Waking up, he couldn't shake off the sensation of being watched. Suddenly, the sound of a ringing cell phone emanated from within one of the body bags nearby. Gathering his courage, Jin-han unzipped the bag to discover a cell phone, its ringtone echoing through the room. Tentatively, he answered the call, only for it to abruptly end. Trying to call back, he soon realized that the number was no longer active. However, his attention was drawn to a message addressed to him, hinting at a secret rendezvous on July 20, 2007. A while later, the police chief arrived to meet Jung-shik and his team, issuing orders to arrest Jung-shik himself. The chief believed that Jung-shik had disregarded orders and needlessly complicated the case by accusing Jin-han as a suspect. Amidst the ensuing chaos, Seok-won appeared, presenting compelling evidence against Jin-han. Consequently, Jin-han was taken in for further questioning. After carefully assessing the evidence, the police chief ultimately entrusted the case to Jung-shik, recognizing his competence in handling the complex investigation. During the intense interrogation, Jung-shik revealed the damning contents of the prenuptial agreement between Jin-han and Seol-hee. He presented a voice recording that captured Jin-han's sinister intentions to carry out a murder plot against Seol-hee. Additionally, Jung-shik provided evidence of Jin-han's illicit affair with Yi-jin. Overwhelmed with panic and fear, Jin-han hastily reached out to Yi-jin, urgently warning her about their monitored house. Simultaneously at Yi-jin's residence, she was startled as an unknown individual attempted to gain entry. Quick on her feet, Yi-jin locked the door and sought refuge, hiding from the potential threat. Jin-han, who had heard the commotion over the phone, grew even more frantic, especially when the call abruptly ended. Consumed by worry for Yi-jin's safety, he felt compelled to escape and rushed towards the exit, only to be confronted by investigators. Jung-shik swiftly intervened, bringing Jin-han back into the room, attempting to soothe him while assuring him that a police officer had been dispatched to Yi-jin's location to ensure her well-being. As the tension subsided, Jung-shik urged Jin-han to divulge the entire truth. Reluctantly, Jin-han recounted the origins of his relationship with Yi-jin, describing how he fell in love with her due to her intellect and curiosity. In contrast, his marriage to Seol-hee, a woman of wealth, brought him no happiness, as he felt trapped, compelled to obey her every command. While reveling in his connection with Yi-jin, Seol-hee grew increasingly suspicious, demanding his presence at her office every day and forbidding him from teaching. In the meantime, the police officer assigned to check on Yi-jin's residence reported that there was no trace of her presence. Turning his attention back to Jin-han, Jung-shik sought a confession regarding the mastermind behind Seol-hee's murder. Jin-han maintained his innocence, vehemently denying any involvement in Seol-hee's death. He asserted that Seol-hee had orchestrated the murder to make it appear as if he were the culprit. Jin-han claimed that his wife had merely feigned her death. However, Jung-shik remained skeptical, unconvinced by Jin-han's arguments. In an unexpected turn of events, the police chief instructed Jung-shik to release Jin-han, advising him to go home and rest. With the investigation into Seol-hee's death abruptly halted, Jin-han was finally freed. However, instead of heading straight home as expected, Jin-han veered off to an undisclosed location. Simultaneously, fueled by his persistent curiosity about the case, Jung-shik covertly decided to tail Jin-han. Using a tracker he had discreetly planted in Jin-han's car and connected to his phone, Jung-shik embarked on a covert pursuit. Arriving at a secluded house known only to him and Seol-hee, Jin-han hastened to the back area, where they had buried someone they had tragically struck on July 20, 2007. Unbeknownst to Jin-han, Jung-shik, who had been stealthily tracking his movements, revealed himself. Startled by the detective's unexpected presence, Jin-han's eyes widened in surprise. It was then that Jung-shik disclosed a shocking revelation. He was the one who had stolen Seol-hee's body and orchestrated the chaos and terror that had plagued Jin-han. Jung-shik sought revenge against both Jin-han and Seol-hee for their involvement in the hit-and-run incident that claimed the life of Ji-young, whose body had never been found. In his chilling confession, Jung-shik unveiled the truth that Yi-jin, whose real name was Song Hwan-young, was Ji-young's younger sister, and she had miraculously survived the accident. Moreover, Yi-jin played a role in the sinister plot, administering the same poison to Jin-han that he had used to end Seol-hee's life. The effects of the poison soon took hold, rendering Jin-han unconscious. Seizing the opportunity, Jung-shik swiftly proceeded to dig up Ji-young's grave, substituting it with Seol-hee's lifeless body. The following morning, the police arrived at the location where Seol-hee's body had been discovered. Jin-han awoke, his senses slowly returning after Jung-shik administered the antidote to revive him. To his shock, he realized that Seo-hee's lifeless body now occupied the same grave where he had buried Ji-young 2 years prior. Overwhelmed by the incriminating evidence found at the scene, the police promptly arrested Jin-han on charges of murder and the theft of Seo-hee's body. In the closing moments of the film, Jung-shik, with a somber expression, picked up Jin, and they embarked on a journey together. Arriving at a desolate location, they gazed upon the tragic sight of Ji-young's body, which they carried in the trunk of their car. The moral of the story is that beware of burying secrets, for they have a funny way of coming back to haunt you. It's always better to be honest and face the consequences, rather than trying to hide the truth in a grave and digging yourself into a bigger mess.